Hi there. My name is Rebecca Hanson. I'm chair of the Plymouth Planning Board. And we have been, over the past year or so, been busy reviewing the existing zoning ordinance that we have in town. And we've been holding work sessions on how to revise some of our districts. And we've been doing this since 2018. For the 2021 town meeting, we have identified a few zones that we'd like to update within the ordinance. And these include the Highway Commercial District along Route 3, the Industrial Commercial District along Tenny Mountain Highway, and spots within the Agricultural District. So I am here with Land Use and Planning Director Brian Murphy for the town of Plymouth, and he's going to ask us some questions, or ask me some questions, so we can address some things that we think folks in town will be interested in learning more about this zoning ordinance update.
Well, thanks, Rebecca. Okay, first of all, what is the project?
So we're really looking at digging into our master plan, which we updated in 2018. That was done through massive input through the town, through a mailed survey, through public work sessions, forums, and we really listened to what town folks thought about what was important in the town of Plymouth. And after the years of work that went into that, we have a new master plan. It came out in 2018. It really identifies where we want to see development in the town, where we want to see places that preserve more of the rural character in town. So we've got a list of, I want to say, 100 implementation steps, and among those, a lot of them are within our zoning ordinance. So we can take that vision that the master plan builds for the town of Plymouth and build some regulation that supports that vision. So.
Great. Why consider changes to the zoning? I mean, we've had it since '62. What are we looking at?
So what we've really found is there's areas in town where the current zoning doesn't necessarily fit what's happening there, or doesn't fit what we would like to see happening there. A great example is the agricultural zone. That zone, for example, the new market basket sits partially within the agricultural zone. So that northern end of Tenny Mountain Highway sits within the agricultural zone. That area was identified as being a place appropriate for development in the town of Plymouth. We found other areas around state routes that are also zoned agricultural or highway commercial. We might be able to look at those a little differently, and we've really identified areas that other parts of town that are more rural, where we'd like to see a continuing rural existence out there, something that has less dense development. Whereas areas along Tenny Mountain Highway, we could support higher density development. So we're avoiding sprawled development. We're trying to concentrate development where it's going to be used most. So.
Okay. And what will the changes to the zoning do?
So the proposed changes, we're looking at building district descriptions and names that align with the use within the existing land use activity that's happening there. This will allow the Tenny Mountain Highway corridor to continue to be a location for new development, but it'll encourage, as I said before, higher density development and a mix of uses where water and sewer infrastructure is currently available. That water and sewer infrastructure definitely allows for greater development. It'll also change the boundary slightly to incorporate some recent development that is actually an agricultural development. So that's in the market basket area there, just bumping out the Tenny Mountain Highway area, so it's all within one single zone. The changes will include an expansion of what we're now calling the Highway Commercial District along Route 3 and 3A in areas that are currently agricultural. We're calling that a gateway district, where maybe there can be different types of uses that are allowed along those gateways into our town that we might not want to see, say on Reservoir Road or New Hebron Road, somewhere that's a little more rural. And the final change looks at the agricultural district itself, which we found that name to be confusing in general. We've got a name that we're throwing around, the rural residential open space zone. I think I've got that correct. But looking at, how much density do we want to see in that area? Do we want to see a greater lot size, greater minimum lot size, to make sure we're preserving the rural character of town, which is something that was identified in the master plan as being really vitally important to the members of our community. And so that district, that open space district, would would certainly allow for residential uses, agriculture, forestry, and then there are other uses that would certainly could be proposed through a conditional use permit. So that's sort of highlighting the specific differences, but basically just to outline those again, taking a couple of different zones and carving them up in a way that makes a little more sense, and changing what we now call the agricultural zone to something that makes more sense for that rural lifestyle that we're looking for.
So I know the question on everybody's mind is, how will this affect my property?
Right, that is an important question. So for the most part, any developments on properties in these newly formed zones would be subject to the new standards of those zones, but existing uses may be continued. So that just means if you've got an existing use that is non-conforming in the new zone, you can continue with that non-conforming use. Where changes might impact you is where if you're trying to subdivide a lot and the minimum lot size has changed, or there's a use that is no longer permitted in that zone. We tried to leave things as open-ended as possible to allow for conditional use permits for things that might be a more intense use for a piece of property, so that it'll come before the planning board and we'll consider its impact to the town and to abutters as well.
Okay, could you just give me a little bit more information about conditional use permits?
Yeah, conditional use permit is, actually this might be a good question for you. Could you give folks a little more information about a conditional use permit, as your position is the one that reviews those things before they come to the planning board?
Generally, it's a document from the planning board outlining the criteria for any given use with whatever conditions may apply. Generally, it's approvable if all the criteria are met with no votes by the board. It pretty much, you're proposing this use, you meet all the criteria, so there's really nothing to stop you, but it's just more of a review by the planning board that everything was set instead of just one individual, and right now it would be me, but it's kind of a peek over somebody's shoulder just to make sure that all the T's are crossed.
Yep. And we have a conditional use permit now for accessory dwelling units within the town. And so whenever someone proposes an accessory dwelling unit, we review the project, we sign off on it, but it doesn't become it's a sort of a minor thing to come across the planning board.
Yeah,
so,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to get out to the public, or should they come to the sessions and get more information there?
So our purpose in doing this today was just to really give a first crack or piece of information to our neighbors in Plymouth. The best way to learn more would be to come to our work sessions. Those are on the first Thursdays of the month, so our next one is coming up October 1st. This whole process from the master plan through the zoning ordinance work sessions we've been doing, and now as this has taken a stronger shape and we look to present it to the town in March, this whole process requires town input. We can't do it on our own. So we'd really love for as many people to come as possible and give us input, because this is a draft that we're presenting to our neighbors, and we need to hear what you have to say. So help us shape this so it fits our town as best as it can. So. So the first Thursdays of the month, we've got some work sessions dedicated to public hearings on October 1st, and then the first Thursday in November. You can also learn more on the website. Our master plan is there. Most of our working documents, I believe, are on the website as well. And I believe the input that went into the master plan as well, so results from the survey should be on there as well. So the best thing to do is come to our public forums, look at the website. You can also channel questions to the town hall. Just make sure they know you're talking about the zoning ordinance update. So.
Okay, great, thank you.